Good morning and welcome to our overview of the amendment for the 2023-2 Home-ARP Rental Housing NOFA First Amendment. My name is Naomi Cantu. This is what I look like. I'm going to turn off my camera so I can focus on the presentation, but I wanted to say hello to everyone in person, virtually, and go from here. So I'm going to turn off my camera now. And we're going to go over the changes to the NOFA and then also to the application guides. I want to make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Great. All right. So as we know, I'm just going to give a little bit of history. Most of this will be redundant, hopefully, for a lot of you, but I just want to make sure that everyone is understanding each other. On this call. We did release the NOFA in December. We got board approval, and the first application acceptance period was December 9th through January 31st, 2023. January 31st is Tuesday coming up, so we wanted to make sure everyone got the updated guidance as soon as possible. As a reminder, there are two different application types. We have posted, and you are looking at our special initiatives website up at the top, we have posted two different applications and application guides. I've been asked this quite a few times, and we did post an FAQ on this, but I want to go over this one more time. And if you have any questions, if you're filling out the right application, please, please, please reach out to us before the application due date. So there are two different application types. One is new applications and one is for Gap Financing. So new applications are for those applications without a previous TDHCA award. Okay, so even if you have a lot of financing already on your project and you think you need TDHCA for Gap, right, you're still a new applicant to us if you don't have a previous TDHCA award. And active applications for TDHCA for our multifamily funding don't count as an active award, okay? So you're still a new applicant. And when you complete the new application, so the uniform multifamily application, when you complete that, you need to include HOME-ARP information throughout the uniform multifamily application, not just in the supplemental tabs at the end. We are included, let me show you, in the multifamily programs applications procedures manual throughout. In most of the tabs, we have a special section at the end. Please make sure to read the manual for the uniform multifamily application and not just our supplemental manual. Okay, and then the second application type, it's for Gap Financing. So you already received an award. You don't have an active application, but you have an award through TDHCA, then we are going to ask for some updates to that uniform multifamily application that you have already completed and already went through underwriting with, and ask for some additional tabs, which is our smaller version of our Excel spreadsheet for that Gap Financing because you already have an award. All right. So now that that's out of the way, I want to focus on two main issues today, and I want to make this clear up front. We are making changes to the federal affordability period. I shouldn't say changes. We are adjusting our guidance regarding the federal affordability period if the project has housing assistance payment contract, and we are adjusting our guidance on how to reflect the capitalized operating cost assistance reserve on the application. These are both technical questions or technical corrections. So it is aligning our guidance with the HUD guidance in the CPD notice 2110 and with the appendix and waivers. All right. I will also touch on other major changes in the application in the NOFA, but I want to stress two main points. Again, that's the changes in the federal affordability period if your project has housing assistance payment or HAP contracts, and the changes to how you reflect the capitalized operating cost assistance or COCA reserves on the application. With that, I'm going to go through the changes in the application, the NOFA first, not the application. We did not actually change the application. We just changed the guidance for the application. So we did published the First Amendment. We published it with track changes. We did adjust the amount available because we are closing out our set-aside period, right? I'm just going to scroll down. We are clearing up that if you have capitalized operating cost assistance, or COCA, right? And that's optional, an optional request, but if you have it, it's available up to 15 years or the term of a HAP, again, Housing Assistance Payment Contract, if the units are not on the HOME-ARP units. Okay, and then keep going. One of the major updates that we did have, which is very helpful, I hope, is we are able to accept applications layered with FHA if they do not ask for COCA. So we did work with the FHA to get approval to be able to layer HOME-ARP with their loan types. If the award does not include COCA, they're still reviewing our COCA documents and the LURA documents there. So that's very helpful. Hopefully for applicants, it expands our applicant pool. I see some hands going up. We are going to be accepting questions through the question panel, not over the airwaves here. Okay. So loan structure, most of this loan structure is to give more information about COCA and about FHA. So please make sure to review this. We are still working. You can see that we put pending further HUD clarification in our NOFA because we're still working to figure out how COCA will work in some aspects. Keep in mind that you can get 0%, and it says 0% for supportive housing up here. That's not layered with FHA, but the COCA can be deferred forgivable at 0%, whether you're supportive housing or not. But if you do request 0% for COCA, and we do have this in our NOFA, and you have tax credits, you have to make sure it's okay with your equity partner. Now we have this that is required before award, right? So not an application, but you might need to change your loan terms if they do not want the tax implications of the COCA at 0%. So keep that in mind. And again, we have changed our loan structure to include FHA. This has just been moved. It's not, we could have probably left it there, but it was moved up. And then we did clarify our environmental requirement. It's not environmental clearance, it's environmental review. Sorry about that misinterpretation there. And we did give you 90 days to take into account the full range of review requirements. So several of you reached out with issues regarding the 30-day. We were able to extend that part to 90. Now I'm going to keep going down. So here is, again, one of the two major items I want to make sure people leave today understanding better. So HOME-ARP rental projects paired with HAP contracts will retain the HOME-ARP requirements for the greater of 15 years or the term of the HAP contract. So again, this is a technical clarification because it's in HUD Notice 2110. So some of you may have heard me talk about the 15-year drop-off. It's a term I have liked to use. I am now revising my my term to say end of the federal affordability period, because there is now changes in how that federal affordability period, how long it can last if you have HAP contract on the property. Now notice that it says on the property, it does not say on the unit. And we're going to go over more what that means in terms of the requirements for HAP and how that looks on the pro forma, which is why another pro forma will be required if you have that. Let's see. And we, again, are trying to change our language from post-year 15 to post-federal affordability period, because if you have a HAP contract, it lasts however long that HAP contract lasts. And then the last change on the NOFA is just a clarification that we did waive the fees for application. All right, so I have gone over the NOFA. Again, you can ask questions as we go in the questions panel, and we can also get that some of those at the end. I'm going to go over the manual, and hopefully that will clear up some of these questions as well. Okay, so first I'm going to go over the gap financing, because that's the shorter one. That's a shorter one. All right, so we have updated January 26th. We updated the amount here. Now we have, going down to where's track changes. We have added some things in our track changes. So, and this has to do with COCA as a development cost, okay? Tab 30, development cost schedule. If the acquisition has been completed, okay, I'm not going to read what we already have, sorry. If the applicant is requesting COCA, and again, COCA is optional, but if it's requesting COCA, the applicant is, the COCA must be entered under soft costs on the development cost schedule in one of the lines shown as other. Now you're not going to know, please don't guess on what the COCA is going to be. Fill out tab 51, that'll tell you what the COCA will be, and then go back to tab 30 and enter it in there. So COCA is optional, but if you're asking for COCA, make sure you fill out tab 51 and then you fill out tab 30 under soft cost, because COCA is a soft cost. Again, COCA as a soft cost. Here's the financing narrative and schedule of sources. If the applicant requests optional COCA, the COCA must be entered as debt. So the applicant must complete, make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, good. The applicant must complete tab 51, entering COCA on the schedule of sources as a permanent loan, because it's not a construction loan, right? So it's only on the right-hand side, the permanent loan. And again, you can pick 0% or 0.25% if you're supportive housing or not. And then some more loan terms on what that means. We clarified the environmental review, of course, and then I'm going to keep going down. All right, here's another big change because COCA is being reflected as a soft cost. So a direct loan unit calculator, and it's underlined and important, right? So requests for COCA must be reflected in table 1. If the applicant accurately updated table 30, or tab 30, sorry, tab 30, the development cost schedule, then the COCA would already be included in the total development cost from the development cost schedule. So let me talk a little bit about what this means. Second, I have it open. That's for something else. Closed it. Hold on one second. I'm going to open up a direct loan calculator so you can see kind of what's going on here. Okay, good. So this is sample. It's not based on anyone's actual work, but here's our direct loan calculator. It's a test. So say you're asking, your total development cost is 16 million, right? And you go down, you take out all the costs that are ineligible, and you're asking for 3 million in HOME-ARP. Okay, so then you're required to do 11 units, and proportionality test is 11. Let's see if you can see this, sorry. Okay, now you realize, oh, but I'm asking for $2 million in HOME-ARP. So now my development cost is 18 million. And my total request is 5 million. So now I'm required to have 15 units. I want to make sure you understand this requirement and how it impacts, right? Because you can increase units during the application cycle, but you might be stuck if you're not able to support them with more COCA. So make sure that you have this completed to include COCA up here, which is from the Development Cost Schedule, tab 30. So you put COCA in the soft cost, and then it is shown there. All right, let me go back to the rental. Okay. Okay, and then the other large part, here's the funding request changes with the FHA and the COCA terms as well. Nothing changes in rent schedule, in the rent schedule 49B, because there's no updates there. I just want to be clear about tab 50, the rent schedule 16 through 40. So we did update, again, this had said about 15 years, right? And so we're adding in, or the expiration of the layered housing assistance payment contract, which on this form is after 15 years. So even though, like, we're not able to change all our forms to reflect the specifics of each project, this rent schedule 16 through 40 is going to show, it's going to assume years 15. That's going to be okay, because it tells us as a program what your rents are going to be after the federal affordability ends, which is what we're trying to say here, that this will end at either the greater of 15 years or the end of the HAP contract. You still have to fill out tab 50. Even though it says 16 through 40, years 16 through 40, okay? So that'll help us figure out how that works. Now, I'm going down to the last big change. Okay. So here's the pro forma 16 through 40. Now this is where it gets more complicated, because yes, our forms cannot, they're standard forms, they're template forms, right? So they're not going to be reflective of your individualized project. However, they should work for hopefully a majority of you. That's why we put them out there, right? But if you do have a HAP contract on there, and you don't have a HAP contract on all the units, then you need to submit an additional pro forma that shows when that HAP contract ends, and what that will do to your pro forma. Let me show you the implications of this. Okay, so you have, this again is just made up numbers. You have two sets of QPs, you got vouchers for 5, right? I should say HAP contract to make it nicer. So you have, this is again, rent schedule 1 through 15. We don't have any changes to 1 through 15 guidance, but this is an example. So you have 2 sets of QPs, one has HAP on it, and that's why with the HAP, you can charge the rent allowable under the HAP contract, which is higher than the other rent for low home. In this example, $1,200, you get to actually collect the $1,200, $700 for the other units, but you reflect it as 0. Now for the HAP rent schedule for years 16 through 40, you still fill this out, right? So now after the federal affordability period drops off, again, I'm changing my wording to year 15, right? From year 15 to the federal affordability period, you are going to tax credit 30s, let's just say, for example. So you're going to do a tax credit 30. This is way too high. So you're going to do tax credit 30. Again, you have other subsidy vouchers here. So this doesn't change, right? So whether you have vouchers on it or it doesn't change, because you get to collect it. But because you have vouchers on it, and let's say the vouchers last for 20 years, you can't collect any rent on for 5 additional years. I'm going to say it again. You can't collect any rent on the QP units during the term of your HAP contract. So after the 20 years, this will convert to tax credit 30, and that's when you can collect that rent, right? But for an additional 5 years for the QP units that converted, they're not converting. Let me say that again. For the QP units that would have converted in year 15, they are not converting immediately. They're converting at the end of the federal affordability period. So if you don't have units on them, you can't, if you don't have vouchers on them, you cannot collect rent for them for an additional 5 years or however long your HAP contract lasts. That is, we still want you to fill out this rent schedule and fill it out as if these are QPs still. And we also need to know for our LURA documents and all sorts of things, you know, this was a QP and now we can see, okay, it's going to be tax credit 30 now that your federal affordability period is over. We will figure that out. So that's why you still have to complete tab 50, right? But for the pro forma, it's not going to make any sense for the years 16 through 40, because if your HAP contract lasts until year 20, that's going to be correct. But now our form cannot reflect that you now can generate income from those former QP units in years 20 through 30. So we've shorted you 10 years of income on our form, because our form is not, again, tailored. It's a template to accommodate most of the program, but not everything. So that's why if you have a HAP contract on the project and you don't have vouchers for every unit, you need to submit an additional pro forma, attach it behind tab 52 that shows the correct end of your federal affordability period. That's a lot, and that is why I wanted to have a webinar about this so you could see why that requirement was there and the implications of that. Okay, hold on 1 second. So that is actually the end of the changes in the Gap Financing Manual. I'm just going to go over the manual for new applicants one more time. Gosh, that's really big now. You can't read it. Okay. Most of it is still the same. I did need to include uniform multifamily application updates in this supplemental manual, and I'll show you what that looks like. So again, we do say the instructions for the uniform multifamily application is in the uniform application manual, right? So again, please use this manual. Please don't guess on how you're supposed to fill out the application because you're familiar with it. You're not familiar with HOME-ARP. No one is, because it's new. So please use this manual as you complete your application for new applicants. So we are able to make changes to our supplemental manual faster than we can make changes to the Uniform Programs Application Procedures Manual. So we made the changes here. We did put that most of the instructions are in the uniform, but we are having updates on tabs 30, 31, and 47, and that has to do with COCA. And just like we had said before, I'm not going to go over it again, COCA as a soft cost on the development cost schedule, on the schedule of values. Oh, and then we had the third-party reports because of the 90-day requirement there. And then again, it's pretty much what we just covered. The COCA as a development cost should be on the calculator. It's put in there, and then the information about changing our language to not talk about post-15, to talk about the end of the federal affordability period because of the extension with the HAP contracts. And let's see. And then the very last part of the additional pro forma if you do not have all HOME-ARP units covered with a HAP contract. We did include an update to our FAQs. The main difference was the 90-day exception date. And with that, we can see if there's any questions. I'll go to the top of the NOFA. And I do have with me today Tiara Hardaway, who is our program manager. Let's go ahead and review some of these questions. And again, we're taking questions by writing so we can see them all before we go ahead. And we are also available. Many of you have already contacted us for guidance. We are available. Okay. Okay. Hold on. I'm reading about Tiara, can you ask Tilly's question, please?
Sure. Okay, so we are applying for vouchers, but won't hear back about awards for several months. Opted not to include voucher assumptions in our application if we are awarded in a few months, but would we submit evidence, update our application, and go through underwriting again?
It would affect your underwriting. We did put about pending award of vouchers to kind of save us time of evaluating, and then if you are awarded vouchers to then have to go back through. So if you applied for vouchers and have met these conditions, right, it's and are able to get this letter from the provider, then you can include it in your application. And we do say if you indicated that you're going to receive a number of vouchers and you don't receive all the vouchers, you still need to go back to underwriting, but that's going to be the case. I believe that would be the case either way. It really depends on when you get the vouchers. It really depends. I would say whether it has to go through underwriting if it's not on the HOME-ARP units. Okay, let's see. I see one. I see more questions about vouchers. I see something about utility allowances, but we're going to have to follow up with you directly because it's very specific. Okay, I'm not seeing actually very many questions about COCA. I'm seeing a lot about the HAP, but not about the extended affordability period. Oh, there's my email address right there. You can send me an email about some of these questions. We are getting them every day as we go. Okay. I do see that you still have some outstanding questions. We will follow up with you. I'm not prepared to answer all of them on this call, but we will be following up. Okay. So again, here's the website where all of the information lives, and I will also go to our website. Here's my email address down here. You can direct questions to me as we go, and we are working to answer them as timely as we can. We do know that the application is due on Tuesday, and so we're working to make sure that all of those answers are as clear as possible. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar, and we'll be following up on some of these questions directly. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Good luck to everyone, and we look forward to seeing your applications. Have a good day.